So this is something just totally unexplained that happened to me once when I was young. I was 16 and I'd had a disturbing dream. It was a nightmare, and I was flying over a street near my town's movie theater, watching someone ride a motorcycle. I flew down closer and I could see his face as he wasn't wearing any helmet, and recognized him as the boy who went to my high school. We were in the same grade, the 11th grade, and we didn't have the same group of friends, and we never had so much as said a hello in the 5 years that we had gone to school together, so safe to say, we probably knew each other's names, but I think that was probably it. But now back to the dream. So, this is so weird. So, I see in my dream this guy riding a motorcycle, and I fly over, and I get closer and closer, and then I see it's this guy that goes to my school. I could see his clothes, his shorts and t-shirt, and he was speeding. The bike was wobbling unsteadily, and I could hear the bike revving and changing gears. I watched as his bike veered left into the center meridian. Oh, yeah. Huh. It was so scary. It felt so real. So anyway, he goes to the center median, and oh my God, his bike was just wobbling all around. And it veers to the left, veers to the right, and finally it wobbles that he flies over the handlebars and he hits his face into a tree. He put his arms up in a defensive manner before he hit the tree, and the sound of the bike and the thud and the crunch of him hitting the tree, the sound of his bones breaking in his face, and then a silent aftermath. It was so vivid and so gory. My dream was in color. It seemed to go in slow motion when he crashed, and in my dream I hovered above him, and even though it was incredibly bloody, I saw that his nose was hanging off of his face. His head was split completely open, and his neck was clearly broken, as were his forearms when he tried to protect his face before he crashed. I knew he was dead. And I woke up screaming. My parents. They came into my room, and through my hysterical sobs, I told them of this dream that I just had. And the next day, it was still so vivid. I told two of my best friends about it. And a few days later, it was still so vivid. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was his face smashed into the tree, and his nose hanging off, and his head split open. My parents thought it was probably a good idea if I went to go see our minister. And also, my tribe's medicine man, well, we had to make an appointment with him too. That's where I received counseling and prayer. And then the shaman, he asked me to undergo a ceremony. And at school, I saw in the halls a few times between classes, and we both nodded at each other. And I was just trying to get up the nerve to tell him about my dream I had of him. Well, I was kind of worried about what he would think. I mean, maybe he would think I was crazy, and tell everybody else that I was crazy. And then he wouldn't take me seriously and maybe even take precautions against me. Through a friend of a friend, I did find out that he did not have a motorcycle, so at least I felt okay about that. So I just let the matter drop. And I moved on. Well, 2 weeks later, the boy was dead from a broken neck due to a motorcycle accident on the same street, in the same location by that movie theater, and even hitting the same tree as the one that was in my dream. He was intoxicated and not wearing a helmet. He had borrowed his much older brother's motorcycle. It seemed like the entire school attended his wake and funeral, which was an open casket. Students were forewarned by their teachers that his parents wanted all the other kids to see what had happened to him because he was driving drunk. And maybe they thought they would learn from his tragedy. More like scars for life. His face was barely recognizable. I could see the fractures in his forehead. My parents and best friends who attended with me also saw what he looked like with the fracture lines exactly as I had described them from my dream. So clearly visible through all that heavy makeup. It's been 41 years since. And I've never ever had another dream like that. I don't even know whether this would be considered a premonition or paranormal or just a damn fucking coincidence. I still feel guilty for not telling him about my dream, or not even mentioning my dream. But maybe just say something about bike safety and helmets, or drinking and driving. I don't know, something that could have prevented his death. I just don't know what it all meant.